So one of the things that we talked about quite a bit in the lead up to the 2024 election is the stark difference between red states and blue states and what they were doing and how they were acting and the policies they were pursuing. And at the same time, we saw blue state after blue state do free school breakfast and lunch for kids. We saw red states literally rolling back child labor law. You can't get a starker difference, right? This is why it's very clear to everybody with a functioning brain at this point. The both sides fraud, the false equivalence fraud, it's done. It's over. Oh, yeah, but both parties are kind of the same. That's what a dumb guy thinks a smart guy believes, right? That's somebody who doesn't read the news, doesn't follow politics, and they think they have this holier-than-thou position. Oh, both parties are kind of the same, bro. No, they're fucking not. No, they're not. Which is why Democratic states are giving free school breakfast and lunch to kids, and Republican states aren't doing that, and they're bringing back child labor, right? There are some areas where they're too similar, and that's the core of the fight within the Democratic Party. We need real opposition to Trump, real opposition to fascism and the robber barons, right? For sure. But they're not the same. They're just not the same. You have one party that's a center-right party, that's the Democrats, and one party that is fucking off the spectrum, fascist, authoritarian, Attila the Hunism. Now we have an update on this. Florida debates lifting some child labor laws to fill jobs vacated by undocumented immigrants. Holy shit. Holy shit. They all made a big stink about, oh, bro, the reason we got to deport the undocumented immigrants is to give better job prospects to the American people who can't get a job because the immigrants are stealing their jobs. And now they're like, bring in the 13-year-olds, please. Bring in the 13-year-olds. And by the way, we can pay the 13-year-olds even less. Yay, hooray. Big business ruins everything. Yippee skippy. All right, here we go. Florida has been working for years to crack down on employers that hire undocumented immigrants, but that presented a problem for businesses in the state that are desperate for workers to fill low-wage and often undesirable jobs. Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis and the state legislature have a potential solution. Children. The state's legislature on Tuesday advanced a bill that would loosen child labor laws, allowing children as young as 14 years old to work overnight shifts. 14-year-olds working overnight shifts. Are you mental? If the new laws passed, teenagers would be able to work overnight jobs on school days. They are currently prevented from working earlier than 6:30 a.m. or later than 11 p.m. per state law. Even that's too... Oh my God. The bill passed through the Florida Senate's Commerce and Tourism Committee on Tuesday with 5 votes in favor of the loosened child labor restrictions and 4 against. Let me guess which party they belong to. The bill will pass through 2 other relevant committees before being put to a vote with the full Florida Senate. DeSantis is supportive of the law and has been vocal of cracking down on immigration, echoing President Trump's rhetoric. However, economists have warned that could backfire, sparking further inflation and labor shortages. You don't say. Why do we say we need to import foreigners, even import them illegally, when you know teenagers used to work at these resorts? College students should be able to do this stuff, DeSantis said last week at a panel discussion with Board czar Tom Homan. By the way, let's be clear. That's a straw man too, because a lot of these, in red states, a lot of these rules that they're rolling back are also to allow children to work in dangerous jobs, like meat facilities. So they're just lying. They're just scumbags. They are just scumbags. No free school breakfast, no free school lunch, but get your ass in the factory, little Timmy. A Florida law was signed in 2023 requiring employers with more than 25 employees to check their immigration status using a federal database known as E-Verify. Employers who don't comply with the law face fines of $1,000 per day until they provide proof that their workers are legal. So anyway, this goes on here. But I thought this was a great point too. Shout out to Melanie Diarigo. So in Florida is where politicians pass laws allowing the companies giving them campaign donations to exploit kids as dirt cheap labor, and where they ban children's books so they can pretend they're protecting kids. That is such a devastating point. Florida went on a fucking book banning spree, because God forbid a kid learns about anything LGBTQ or anything racial, right? Ban those books to protect the children, but also get your ass into the mine, bitch. All right, maybe not a mine, but you get the point. Get your ass in the factory. All the fucking virtue signaling they do about always protecting kids. Meanwhile, literally every other day, there's a new story about some MAGA asshole who was caught being a fredophile. And we've covered some of them on this show. There's a laundry list of these people. All right, and I got one more for you to give you some background. So this article is from 2023. Republicans continue effort to erode U.S. child labor rules despite teen deaths. Read that headline. Then read it one more time. Then read it one more time after that. Violations have soared, but legislative efforts to strengthen protections for young workers have received little support. You don't say. So by the way, it's actually not just red states. Some blue states too, unfortunately, have moved in the wrong direction on this. But to be fair, really for officially rolling back the rules and laws, it really is predominantly the red states. In some blue states, under the table, they will employ people who are too young. They'll employ kids, but they get caught, they get fined, etc. But that's the other problem is the government agency that does that, they fucking destroyed it. It's been underfunded forever, but now, of course, Elon's probably going to fucking destroy it completely. But here, let me give you some of the numbers in this story are crazy. Child labor violations have been soaring in the U.S., but efforts to render solutions through legislation have received little support, and Republicans at the state level continue pushing bills that will roll back current child labor protections. In the most recent fiscal year, the U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division reported 835 cases of child labor violations affecting 3,876 minors and 688 minors employed in violation of hazardous occupation, a 283% increase since 2015. So this is becoming a bigger problem. Civil penalties against employers totaled just under 4.3 million. By the way, that's the other part of the problem. Just a fine is not good enough. This should be criminally, you should be able to charge this criminally. If you got some fucking 12-year-old working for you in a dangerous job and they're there until fucking 1 o'clock in the morning, the person who's employing them, you're a criminal. You should be locked up. The Department of Labor has pushed to ramp up enforcement against child labor and the exploitation of migrant child labor. So again, this was during the Biden years. But the Wage and Hour Division remains too underfunded and too understaffed to protect workers adequately. At the state level, labor departments also saw sharp increases in child labor violations last year. A record number of employers were cited for child labor violations in Washington and New York. The state labor department reported a 68% increase in child labor violations in 2022. This year, harrowing child labor violations were reported by officials, including 3 teens who were killed on the job during the summer. In June, 16-year-old William Hampton was killed in Lee Summit, Missouri, while working at a recycling park when he was pinned between a semi-truck and a trailer. OSHA, the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is still investigating the incident. Later that same month, 16-year-old Michael Scholes was killed at a sawmill in Wisconsin while operating hazardous machinery that was illegal for the worker to operate at that age. The same employer, Florence Hardwoods, was found in violation of numerous other child labor laws and settled a fine of $190,000. No, see, that person should be in jail. That person should be in jail. And this is part of the problem, right? We don't treat corporate criminals like the criminals they are. They always get a little slap on the wrist, a little fine here or there. They never get what they really deserve, right? In my mind, this is way more egregious and way more horrific than somebody who robs some Cheetos from a convenience store, right? Our priorities are all out of whack. The Wall Street fraudster should be in jail for life. Assholes like this should be in jail for fucking life. They should be. At the state level, Republicans have led efforts to roll back child labor protections with bills introduced in at least 16 states, including Arkansas and Iowa, who've enacted laws to roll back child labor protections. 16 red states are like, more of this. They should be able to work throughout the night. They should be able to work hazardous jobs. What the fuck is this country becoming? What stage of capitalism is this? Where at the same time the social safety net is obliterated, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, at the same time red states say, no free school, breakfast, and lunch for you. They say, go work a dangerous job until the middle of the night and maybe die doing it. There's been a corporate takeover of our government and a robber baron takeover of our government, and this is the fucking result. It is a hellscape out there. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.